Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we dig into complex source material so you don't have to. Today, we are looking at something really fascinating in the world of large language models. We're talking about how to make them handle absolutely huge amounts of context. Up to 128,000 tokens. For perspective, that's like feeding a model a 250-page book and expecting it to remember what happened on page 1.
And the research team behind this, a great collaboration from Astera, NVIDIA, Stanford, Berkeley, and UC San Diego, they start with this fantastic analogy.
It really clicked for me. The thing about learning, say, machine learning years ago in a class. You don't remember the professor's first word, right?
Yeah.
Or every single equation they wrote down. But that core intuition, that compressed knowledge is still with you today, helping you solve problems.
And that analogy just perfectly highlights the problem with current LLMs. A standard transformer is built for what they call nearly lossless recall.
Right. It's designed not to forget.
Exactly. And to do that, for every new word it generates, the self-attention mechanism has to literally go back and scan the key and value of every single previous word.
That's the part that just hits a computational wall, this scanning process. So the cost is quadratic, O of key squared for prefill. At what point does that go from just being expensive to being, physically impossible on the hardware we have?
It's not just a wall, it's more like a ceiling that drops on you really fast. You see these huge performance drops after, say, 32K or 64K tokens because the cost just explodes with the context length.
So going from a 50-page document to a 250-page one isn't 5 times the work.
Oh no, not at all. It might be 25 times the work or even more. And that's why full attention, even though it's amazing for recall, is just painfully slow and expensive at the scale we actually need.
Which brings us to this big trade-off in the LLM world. You can have that super powerful but slow transformer with full attention. Or you can pick one of the faster alternatives, like Mamba 2 or Gated DeltaNet, which are based on RNNs. They give you that lightning-fast inference, that O of 1 constant time per token.
But they pay for that speed. They tend to lose effectiveness when the context gets really, really long.
They're sacrificing that deep knowledge for speed.
That's the compromise. And it's been a huge hurdle.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get to the bottom of a method that claims to solve this. TTTE2E. That's end-to-end test time training.
It's a mouthful.
It is. But the goal is to see how it manages to get the scaling performance of that slow, expensive, full attention model while keeping the super fast constant inference speed of the RNNs.
It's trying to get the best of both worlds.
Exactly. So we're going deep into the paper itself to figure out how they strike this balance. All right, let's start with the core idea, compression.
Yeah, the breakthrough is really a change in thinking. They move away from this idea of explicit storage. So instead of storing every single key and value in some kind of cache.
Which is what full attention does.
Precisely. Instead, TTTE2E uses compression. It takes the knowledge it's reading and compresses it directly into the model's own weights, into the parameters of the model itself.
And this compression is happening live, right? That's the test time training part. The model is still learning even while it's running a task.
It's so clever. You give the model a document, and it just treats that document as its own little on-the-fly training set.
So it's training itself on the context you just gave it.
Yes. It runs next token prediction on that sequence, calculates a tiny loss, and then takes a gradient step to update its own weights. That gradient step is literally baking the document's meaning into its brain.
I love the paper's toy example for this. They imagine this really simple model, a bigogram predictor. They've ripped out all its memory, all the attention layers are gone.
So it can only see the very last word to predict the next one. It has absolutely no memory of the broader text. It might know to predict the after in, but has no idea what in was referring to 100 words ago.
Right, but then you apply TTT. You force that little model to, as an exercise, predict word 2 from word 1. And then you take that gradient step.
And just like that, the information from word 1 is stored in the updated weights.
Suddenly this dumb little model that had no architectural memory now has memory stored right in its layers. That's the compression at work.
And what makes this more than just a cool trick is the E2E part, the end-to-end meta learning.
What was the problem with the older versions, the TTT naive ones?
Well, the problem was a mismatch. The model's initial weights were optimized for general knowledge, but they weren't prepared for the fact that those weights were about to be changed dramatically by these test time updates.
So TTTE2E basically fixes this by training the model to be a good student of itself. It knows it's going to keep learning after it's been deployed.
That's a perfect way to put it. We're not optimizing its performance on day one at weight zero, we're optimizing its preparation. The meta-learning happens in this outer loop during training. And it teaches the model how to set its initial weights, its W0, so that they will be maximally effective after a few of those TTT gradient steps have already happened.
So instead of training it to be good right now, they're training it to be good after you've seen the first few pages of the book and learned from them.
Exactly. It requires calculating what we call gradients of gradients. It's computationally heavy during training, but it's what sets the model up for success. It's meta-learning for continual learning.
Okay, let's talk architecture. It's built on a standard transformer, but it uses something called sliding window attention, SWA. This is where that fixed 8K token window comes in.
Right. The SWA is crucial. It acts as the model's short-term, high-detail memory. It can perfectly recall everything from the last 8,000 tokens it saw.
But TTTE2E needs to bridge the gap between that local memory and the global compression happening in the weights.
And that's where mini-batch TTT comes in. Because doing this one token at a time, what we call online gradient descent, can be really unstable.
So they group the context into mini-batches, let's say 1,000 tokens at a time. And they take one single gradient step for that whole batch.
Yep. And this leads to a really important technical detail that shows you how the memory systems work together. They have to set the SWA window size, which they call K, to be greater than or equal to the mini batch size, B.
Why is that? Why does the window have to hold the entire batch?
Think about the information flow. The model has to see that entire 1,000 token batch and hold it in its short-term, high-res SW memory.
Right.
Before the test time training kicks in to compress that chunk into its long-term memory, into the weights.
Ah, I see. If the batch was bigger than the window, it would start forgetting the beginning of the batch before it even had a chance to compress it.
You got it. It ensures no information is lost in that handoff from short-term to long-term memory.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, to keep things fast, they had to be selective about what they updated during this TTT process. Where does the context actually get stored?
They found a sweet spot. First, they only update the MLP layers, the multi-layer perceptrons. These become the dedicated storage for all that compressed context.
And everything else is frozen.
Everything else. Attention, embedding, normalization layers, all frozen. That preserves the model's original pre-trained general knowledge.
And the second restriction.
They only update the final quarter of the blocks in the network.
What's the trade-off there?
Well, updating more layers gives you more storage space for context, but it massively increases the computational cost of that inner TTT loop. The last quarter seems to be the best balance of capacity and speed.
So all of this leads to the main efficiency win. For someone listening, what's the real-world difference between the old O of t squared and this new method?
It's night and day. Because TTTE2E is built on SWA, which has a fixed window, and these constant time weight updates, it achieves constant inference latency, O of 1.
Meaning what exactly?
It means that whether you feed it a 100-page book or a 500-page book, the time it takes the model to predict the very next word is basically the same. The past context stops slowing down the future.
That is incredible. And the initial read-in, the prefill, is linear, O of t, which is still so much better than the quadratic O of t squared from full attention.
It is. It's the combination that really delivers the speed you need for massive deployments.
Let's get to the numbers. The results they reported on these 3 billion parameter models are pretty stunning. We already said that other fast methods like SWA on its own or Mamba 2 start to perform worse as the context gets longer. What about TTTE2E?
TTTE2E just holds the line. It maintains the same performance advantage over full attention across every context length they tested, all the way up to 128K tokens.
So it scales just like the best model, but without the speed penalty.
Exactly. It doesn't suffer that performance drop that plagues other efficient models. And at 128K context, it's 2.7 times faster than full attention on an H100. It's the speed of the fast models with the performance of the best one.
That's the holy grail, really.
It is. And what's maybe even more surprising is how it gets there. When you look at the loss breakdown, token by token, TTTE2E is actually getting a lower loss than full attention throughout the entire document.
Wait, How is that possible? Especially at the very beginning of the document. Before TTT has even had a chance to do its first update, before that first mini batch, they have the exact same architecture, don't they?
They do, and most of the performance gain actually comes from those very early tokens. The reason goes back to that end-to-end training.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Full attention is packing for a 500-page trip. It knows it only gets to pack once, at the very beginning. So its initial weights have to be good enough to predict every single possible future token across that entire 128K window.
That's a huge burden. It's trying to be a jack of all trades from the start.
Precisely. It has to dilute its capacity. But the TTT-E2E model has a safety net. It knows it gets to repack its bags every 1,000 tokens.
So its initial weights only need to be good for the immediate future.
That's it. It only needs to be great at predicting the current mini batch because it knows the TTT process will create better updated weights for the future. It can afford to be highly specialized on the immediate task, and that gives it an advantage from the very first word.
That's a phenomenal insight. It's optimizing for right now, trusting the system to handle later. Okay, but we have to talk about the compromise, the big one. If it's all about compression, it has to be throwing some details away.
It does.
And the needle in a haystack tasks are the ultimate test for this, right? Finding one tiny specific detail in a mountain of text.
And this is exactly where TTT-E2E hits its limit. On these NIAH tasks, like finding a single passkey or a UUID buried deep in a document, the results are, well, they're not great.
So at that 128K context length, the standard transformer with full attention just blows it out of the water.
Dramatically. And this really defines the trade-off. Full attention is king of recall. It stores every detail explicitly in its cache. TTT-E2E's strength is compression, and compression, by its very nature, means throwing out what seems like low-signal noise, the needle. So TTT-E2E will give you a brilliant fast summary of that 500-page legal document. But if the one critical line is, the defendant's name is John Doe, not James, buried on page 387, it might miss it. That is the cost of this efficiency.
That really crystallizes the difference. Let's zoom out a bit. The authors make a point of framing this whole thing not as an architecture problem, but as a problem in continual learning.
And that framing is so important. TTT-E2E mimics parts of human learning that static models just ignore. It's personalized, the learning is specific to the document you're giving it, and it's seamless. It blurs that hard line between training and testing.
And by doing that, they've accidentally, or maybe intentionally, created this beautiful memory hierarchy. It's very much like how biological systems work.
Exactly. The updated MLP layers, that's the model's long-term memory. It's storing the compressed gist of the document. Meanwhile, that 8K sliding window, the SWA, that's its short-term memory. It provides that local high-detail recall for what's happening right now.
A system that can see both the forest and the trees. But let's finish on the remaining practical hurdle. The training.
Right. While inference is super fast, that initial training phase, the end-to-end meta-learning with the gradients of gradients, is still a bottleneck.
How bad is it?
The paper says that at shorter context lengths, which is where you spend most of your pre-training time, TTT-E2E, is about 3.4 times slower to train than a standard full attention model.
So we've built a very fast car in a very slow factory.
That's a great way to put it. The authors know this is a limitation. They suggest things like optimizing the kernels because right now it can't use things like flash attention, or maybe starting the process from an already pre-trained static model to cut down on that slow meta-learning part.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've seen how TTT-E2E uses this idea of continuous test time learning to make a fast, constant latency architecture scale its performance, just like the slowest, most accurate models.
It achieves that speed and scale through intelligent compression by treating this as a continual learning problem instead of just an architecture war.
But the critical takeaway for everyone is that trade-off. You get superior general prediction and amazing efficiency, but you sacrifice that pinpoint detailed recall.
And the TTT-E2E approach really shows that forgetting details, that successful compression, can actually lead to better overall performance and efficiency for most predictive tasks. Which brings me to a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
If that kind of nearly lossless recall is so expensive and frankly so rarely needed for general prediction, how might the next generation of models incorporate some stronger, more specialized form of short-term memory? Maybe a dedicated cache just for those crucial needle-in-the-haystack details without giving up all the incredible efficiency gains we get from continual learning and compression.